Good morning, Facebook world. Wow, it's been a couple weeks since I've done a live, but getting over that nasty cold virus that everybody else has had and feeling so much better. But, many of you know my mother has Alzheimer's, and hi, Becky. My mom has Alzheimer's, and I'm part of a lot of Alzheimer's support groups because I've just become enmeshed in that world. And what I have discovered being part of those groups is that caregivers feel very isolated. And even when there's a whole bunch of people around them that are willing to support them, they really feel alone. And so I asked in one of these groups if they could tell anyone outside of their situation how best to support them, what would that be? Because I really wanted to know. And I got a ton of comments. But I wanted to share with you, and it's going to kind of bounce around because I literally wrote it as the threads came through, of what really you can do to support, hi Janya, a caregiver, because it's really important when you are not the caregiver, but you have someone in your life who is, that you really know how to support them. I live by my parents. I'm 10 minutes away, and I'm the only sibling that's this close. My other two brothers live quite a ways away, a couple hours away. And so my role as support to my dad as the primary caregiver is completely different than my brother's roles because they're not here. They can't be here every day if he needs them. They can't be here as much. So they have to learn how to be a caregiver supporter from a different perspective. So no matter whether you are far away or you're close, these are all things that you can think about and remember on how to support someone who's a caregiver. Straight from the horse's mouth, I will say, because all of these people are full-time, 24-hour round-the-clock caregivers of dementia or Alzheimer's people. So this is what they told me on how best to support them. And I'm going to start with the most important one. Offer to sit with their loved one so that the caregiver gets a break. And don't just offer if you're not going to do it, but really if you want to be there and you want to support them and you want to help out, give them even 15 minutes so that they can go to the bathroom by themselves or take an uninterrupted shower. I mean, those things matter. And I know it just seems like a no-brainer to us, but when you're in 24-hour care, your life gets put on hold. And having someone to give you a few minutes of time so that you can actually go ahead and do a few things that you need to get done is a major, major source of help. Expand your idea of love and patience towards the caregiver. So that was an interesting comment to me because, we think, hi Patty, we think that we love, the people in our lives and that we support them. But really, when someone is a full-time caregiver, like I said before, their life goes on hold for this person. And their friends don't understand why they can't suddenly, come out, why they can't go see a movie and get away once in a while. So you have to kind of expand your own perception of what it means to love and support a caregiver. And you've got to give them grace and got to give them patience. That is a huge component. Really be there. Don't just say you're going to be there. Really be there. And don't say it if you don't mean it. Like if you're gonna show up, if you're gonna actually come by, and then come by, but don't say it if it's not true, because that's worse for the caregiver, because then their expectations and their planning and all of those things fall apart on top of a really difficult job. Really help out. Don't just say it. Same thing. Like if you've said, hey, I'm going to come over and I'm going to do this for you, don't say you're going to do it and then not do it. That's just don't even bother. if that's the case. Control your expressions and reactions around the person with dementia and Alzheimer's. This is why caregivers a lot of them take on the task of being the full-time caregiver, is because they don't like seeing other people in their family or friends or whatever react in a negative way or manner towards the person who has the issue. So they block them, they shield them, and what happens is they end up isolating because they don't want to put that on somebody else. So watch your expressions and your reactions to situations when you're around people who have dementia or Alzheimer's. You know, they have weird behaviors and weird things happen, and if you just react to every single thing that happens, you're going to stress out the caregiver way more than they need to be stressed out, and they're not going to want you around. Don't give excuses. Like if this was a big one, don't give excuses. Well, you know, I have this going on in my life right now, or, oh, my job just keeps me so busy, or, oh, you know, I have my kids and I got to take them to do this, or I got to take them to do that, you know, or I have this responsibility, so I really can't come by, or whatever. Don't give them an excuse. Really, truly, just don't give them the excuse. Be honest. If you don't want to come by because it breaks your heart to see your uncle not remember who you are, then be honest and say that to the caregiver. I would love to be there and support you any way I can, but it literally kills me emotionally for 3 days if I see my uncle for 15 minutes because I can't handle the emotional impact. They would much rather hear the truth than an excuse that everyone knows is an excuse. When you're around them, do not expect to be entertained. They are not, it's not a normal social visit. You aren't there to be entertained, to have them wait on you hand and foot if you're in their home. Like, that's not the point of the visit. So get that right out of your head. You're not there to be entertained. You're there to help out or to give that caregiver a break. So pay attention to that. Be action-oriented. When you are around someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's and the caregiver is there, they're going to just do what they do naturally as a caregiver, but you should always be looking for ways you can help. So keep that in mind. Be an action-oriented person when you're around them. If you see that, you know, the caregiver or the Alzheimer's person needs help to the bathroom, don't wait for the caregiver to get up and take them to the bathroom. You can take them to the bathroom or direct them that direction. So it's about switching your mind just a little bit to see how you can best support. Let's see, what else did they say? Call the caregiver to check on their personal well-being. Don't just call to find out how, you know, your dad is. Call to find out how the caregiver is. Call and find out how your mom's doing as the caregiver. You know, what's her emotional state? What does she need? Sometimes they just need to talk to somebody. They just need to have an interaction with someone who, you know, isn't acting like a 2-year-old all the time. I mean, why do we understand that of parents with little kids? Like, they just need an adult conversation. It's no different for someone who's an Alzheimer's patient. They revert back to that kind of 2-3-year-old age. And, you know, the caregiver just needs a break. They just need some intelligent human conversation where they're not like treating someone like they're a 2-year-old and having to discipline and having to stop and watch 24 hours a day. Like, they just need that little bit of human interaction. This was a big one. I love this one. Drop off meals. Cannot tell you how many people told me if people would just bring by a meal, something we could eat on for a day or for 2, that would just make all the difference in the world, because a lot of times cooking or getting out to get food or going shopping is almost impossible, especially when you get to the later stages. So seriously, if you've got the extra to make a little meal for 2 or 3, you know, or maybe, you know, something they could eat on for a couple of days, like a big pot of chili or something, dropping that off is is like a miracle to the caregiver. Like, it's so helpful. Offer to do their chores or their errands. I've mentioned that before in another post, but seriously, like, my dad told me the other day, he can't go get his hair cut anymore. He's like, I might have to have you watch mom so that I can go get my hair cut. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course, bring mom here, or I'll come to the house and watch mom so you can go get your hair cut, because he can't do it anymore because mom won't sit in the waiting room and wait. She wants to be right next to him and holding his hands, and then she's getting into everything. And so, like, it's just this huge deal just to get his hair cut. And so offering those things, coming by and being like, hey, you know what? I'm going to mow your yard this summer because, I live down the street and I have a mower, and I know that your hands are tied with your person and you can't really be outside that long. I mean, those things seem like they're not big things, but they're huge, huge things to the person who's in the caregiver role. Learn to listen to the caregiver without judgment and giving an opinion. That is a huge, huge piece. Caregivers need to be able to let go. They need to, that's why these support groups are so amazing, because they can get in the group and they can rage at the world, they can rant, they can cry, they can put out whatever they're, disgusted about. And the thing is that they're just loved and supported for where they're at in the moment. And that's what you need to be able to do for a caregiver. You gotta listen without judgment, and don't offer your opinion. Just let them vent, let them get it out. Watch what you say to a caregiver, because they'll be telling you something. This is part of that judgment conversation. They might tell you, man, my person's not eating very much right now. They eat like one meal a day. Don't say, oh, well, be happy they're eating. I mean, they could not be eating. Don't say stuff like that. I mean, seriously, that person is concerned that their loved one is not getting enough nourishment, and saying to them, oh, well, be happy that they're at least eating. Like, what is the point of that? It is not helpful at all. So really listen to how you're responding to someone. Socialize the caregiver. They feel so isolated. I know that my dad, he comes to our house about every 3 days. And I know it's because he just needs that hour of talking to me and of being out. I mean, he still takes my mom out every day. They go out to eat every day. And it's as much so he can socialize with the waitresses and to be out of the house as it is for, just for my mom, because my mom is one of those, she loves to go. She's always loved to take car rides and do things like that. And so in this disease, she's maintained that. And every day she wants to go somewhere. And so, but you got to socialize the caregiver. It's important, because the more isolated they feel, the harder the job becomes. Send or drop off gift cards to takeout places like restaurants, food places. Offer to do some cooking for them. Offer to go shopping for them, because, they can't always do those errands. Here's one. Offer to stay with the loved one on a regular schedule so that the caregiver can schedule things to do during that time. So, saying, hey, I'll come over every Friday morning at 9 and I'll spend, an hour with the loved one so that you can, make a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, or you can go, do your grocery shopping then, or whatever the case may be. Like, you've no concept of what it's like when you need to be with someone 24 hours a day and try to figure out how to do all the other things that you would normally do. Visit the loved one as often as possible. Because caregivers often feel like they're the only person that cares about that person anymore, because that's that isolation thing. So go visit. It's not an inconvenience. That's the other thing I think some people think, is that they're an inconvenience and they're making it harder on the caregiver by dropping by or visiting. But if you're paying attention to all the things that I've said and you're going with the right mindset and the right attitude, then you're not an inconvenience. You're a blessing. So go and visit the loved one. And, there's early stages and late stages of dementia. So in the early stages, while they're still, I would say, partial cognizant, it is so important that you go and that you visit them, because it gets harder when they don't know who you are. But the loved one will feel loved, and the caregiver will feel like someone cares about this person. They still care about my husband. They still care about being friends. So really, go while you can, visit while you can. Drop by with little treats for the caregiver. They often don't have time for anything special for themselves. Bring a milkshake, a cupcake, bath salts, and a coffee, just something to say, you know what, I love you and I appreciate the job that you're doing here. And so those little things can really brighten a caregiver's day. Just the littlest, tiniest things. So just think about that when you're going about your day. One gal put that her neighbor lives 3 doors down, and she's a baker. She bakes breads and cookies and muffins and all kinds of things. And every time she bakes, she makes a whole batch of stuff for them, and they take it and put it in their freezer. And so that she's always got like fresh little goodies and baked goods that she can pull out. And that is literally a joy for her to have her neighbor do that for her. I've mentioned it before, but be the safe place. Be the safe place for people to rant and rage and cry without judgment or opinion on what they say, because you have no idea what it takes to be the caregiver. And even though you may think, wow, that's pretty rough or pretty harsh, you don't know what's caused that person to feel that way in the moment. So don't judge, but listen. Just let them vent. They have to have somewhere to vent. So give them that opportunity with you. Be the safe person, the person they want to call and talk to, the person that they want to share with. That is probably the biggest honor of supporting a caregiver. And last but not least, I loved this one. Come by. Caregiving is not a contagious disease. Come by. Come be part of our lives still. Come engage. Come let us know that you love us, and that just because this is going on, it doesn't mean that we're not important anymore. So I hope if you know a caregiver, that this has helped you learn how to be a better caregiver, has helped you learn how to support someone who is in the caregiving role. Because as a caregiver, you really, truly put your life on hold in the service of someone else. It is honorable. It is the gift of love in action. And it makes me want to cry, because my daddy's a full-time caregiver. And the patience that man has and the strength he has, just, it blows me away every day. And anything that I can do to help him and support him, not just because he's my dad, not just because it's my mom, but because what he gives every day out of love just astounds me. So here's the thing. Love the caregiver, and don't let them stay isolated. Don't let them feel like there's nothing or no one to care about them. So I hope that this was helpful. Please share it if you have a caregiver in your life, or you know someone who's a caregiver, or people who are supporting caregivers. And as always, I have a page called Nutrigenomics and the Alzheimer's Connection, where I share how food and nutrition can affect Alzheimer's, and actually, if you're doing the things that you should be doing, you can actually help prevent it from being your story. And I would love it if you would be part of that page or share that page. So thank you so much for joining. And if you need to reference this and go back to it, please do so, because there's a lot of tips in here. And like I said before, they come from the mouths of the caregivers in the dementia support groups that I'm in. This is their actual words, their statements, their requests for how to love and support them. So have a great day, and I love you all. I will talk to you soon.